Hello. I thought we'd take 5 minutes and look at a story of Jesus that helps us to know how to be a good follower, a good listener to what he has for us. This story is in Luke 8. He tells this, he says, "A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path. It was trampled on, and the birds ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground, and when it came up, the plants withered because it had no moisture. Other seed fell among the thorns, which grew up with it and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up and yielded a crop 100 times more than was sown." Now his disciples heard this, and I think they had a clue. They said, "I don't think he's talking about farming." And so they took Jesus aside and they asked him, "What is it really about?" And so here's what Jesus responds. This is down in verse 11 of Luke 8. He says, "This is the meaning of the parable. The seed is the word of God. Those along the path are the ones who hear, and then the devil comes and takes away the word from their hearts, so they may not believe and be saved. Those on the rocky ground are those ones who receive the word with joy, but when they hear it, they have no root. They believe for a while, but in time of testing, they fall away. The seed that fell among thorns stands for those who hear, but as they go on their way, they are choked by life's worries, riches, and pleasures, and they do not mature. But the seed on good soil stands for those with noble and good heart, who hear the word, retain it, and by persevering, produce a crop." I just thought I'd help us think for a minute today, what helps me to be good soil? I think we think about this story a lot about telling others about the gospel or evangelism, but I think it talks about more than just the first time we hear the word. It's a heart posture of always being ready to receive the seed of the word. We want our hearts to be good soil so that when we hear the word, it goes in deep and it produces 100-fold. It produces the crop like Jesus talks about in this story. What keeps our hearts from not being good? He talks about the hard heart, where the seed lands and it springs up a little bit, but then it doesn't have a root, so it dies out quickly. And for this, I think of having a hard heart. Your heart isn't really ready to receive the word. It's not open to learning new things, maybe. Maybe you think you've got it all figured out, and so when you hear the word, it sounds good, but it doesn't really stick in there. So we want to have a heart that's ready to receive and knows that we have more to learn. We have a long way to go. And then he talks about the seed that is choked out by the weeds. And he says these weeds, these things that grow up and it chokes out the seed, these are life's worries, riches, and pleasures. It's these things we have in our life, and it gets in the way of us hearing the word and responding to it well. We get distracted by all the stuff we're worried about or the stuff we have to do today and all the things that we own and we have to take care of. And these aren't necessarily bad things, but when they get in the way of the word, we want to learn how to reduce them in our life. How do we have good soil? The pleasures of life even that get in the way. And so these are all things we want to think about, how to have good soil. And then he says in verse 15, "The seed on good soil stands for those with a noble and good heart who hear the word, retain it, and by persevering produce a crop." We hear the word, retain it. We grab it. We grab hold of it. Maybe we chew on it for a while. We work on it. We don't just let it go easily. We persevere with it. We hear the word and we digest it and we dig into it a little bit more. He gives us this clue at the end in verse 18. He says, "Therefore consider carefully how you listen. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they think they have will be taken from them." So this helps me to see the whole thing is, how are we listening? Are our ears open to hear from the word? Are our ears ready to hear new things, or do we think we've got it all figured out? Are we so busy with all the stuff in life that we can't even listen? We can't hear over all of the noise in our life. God isn't going to scream over all of those things. He's usually the small voice. We have to make room to listen for that. And then it says, "Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they think they have will be taken from him." So we may think we've got it all figured out. If we do, we may lose what we even had. So we want to have good soil in our hearts. I just thought I'd process this with us today. Pray and ask the Lord, how can we make sure our hearts are good soil and ready to hear the word from the Lord? Have a great day.